So anyway, we started in downtown, and of course, the Nicollet Avenue streetcar did not run through downtown on Nicollet. Nicollet never had streetcars on it within downtown. It was just buses. And so it went through downtown on Marquette. So we started at Marquette in Washington, and you're looking north, and you can see the main post office. And this is what it looked like back in the day. You've actually seen this photo before because I did this for that one downtown intersection set of photos. And then you turn around in the block, and you're looking across 4th Street, looking south. And it looks like virtually everything in here is new, but check this parking ramp out. Here it is in 1953 or so.
Yep.
And there was another one like this. I think it's still there over on, I want to say 9th Street, across from the old YMCA, but 9th and LaSalle.
9th and LaSalle is downtown auto park.
Right.
Okay.
And well, this says downtown auto park too, so maybe they're both by the same.
It was same ownership and same design.
Okay, but anyway, I just think it's really interesting that these parking ramps are now historic structures. So here we are at 6th and Marquette, looking south. You got the F&M Bank, you got the Rand Tower, you got this funny little building that has the Egyptian motif on the front, but it has a skyway going into it, and they built a parking ramp around it. So here's what it looked like back in the day. Here you can see the little Egyptian building, Farmers and Mechanics. So this is the corner of 7th and Marquette. You're looking at the Wells Fargo Center. And of course, the Northwestern National Bank building was there and burned down. Bill Ahrens has personal history with that. And so here's that building. Now, the reason this lady looks the way she looks is this is a newspaper photo when it was a really windy day. That's why the newspaper guy went out. But here, look at the people getting on in the middle of the street with cars right up against them here. Yeah. So now we're down at 10th and Marquette. And I made a little mistake on this. I stood on the wrong side of the street. I was trying to remember what the historic photo looked like. So you're looking forward, there's the Wells Fargo building. And from a slightly different angle, this is what 10th and Marquette looked like. There's a little bitty jog on Marquette. But here you got the Fauché Tower, which in the previous photo is hidden behind this glass building. And the Loop Pharmacy and the Medical Arts building and the Weather Ball.
Who can recite that rhyme? When the weather ball is green.
The ball is
something foreseen.
Yes.
When the weather ball is green, no change is foreseen, I believe.
When the weather ball is red.
White.
Colder weather is
warmer weather ahead.
When the weather ball is red, warmer weather is ahead. When the weather ball is green, no change in weather is foreseen. When the weather ball is white, colder weather is in sight. When colors blink by night or day, precipitation's on the way.
Wait, very good.
We had to learn that.
So anyway, when you get down to Grant Street is the south end of downtown, and that's where the street grid changes from 45 degrees tilted because it's aligned with the river to straight north-south. So the streetcars came down to Grant and they jogged over a block to Nicollet. And so here's that same view in the 1930s, probably maybe late 20s. And as you can see, the Wesley Temple Church had more of a steeple back then. So anyway, you're looking south on Nicollet from Grant Street, as it is today. And here's what, and here's what it looked like back then. And you see Glick Stite is being delivered to the Kennesaw Bar. And so now we're down on the north side of I-94. And this was 17th Street. And this is what it looked like. 17th Street is gone. It's where the freeway is now. Spring Bakery. And then you turn around and here's the 94 bridge. You're looking up the hill towards Franklin. A lot of new apartment construction. And here's that same location. And there's a Southern Fried Chicken place here. And so now we're at Groveland, which is the same as 19th Street, looking towards downtown. And the thing that's in common is this pair of buildings here. This one with the little arch and this one that's kind of stepped. And here's a photo. You can see the stepped building, which at the time housed Roto-Rooter. And here you're looking at Plymouth Congregational Church. I didn't have a modern photo. Now we're moving south. We're at 26th Street. Franklin is the same as 20th. Here's the Black Forest Inn here. And here it was in the day. Anybody remember Butler Drug?
Absolutely.
And
they
they
buy
were
it 4 times a day.
And then they moved over where George's Cafe is. Remember, they built a new building for Butler Drug, and that's where Cheapo Records is now. So now we've gone south a block at 27th. We're looking north. And here's the parking lot for Black Forest. But Black Forest Inn is actually up at the corner here. And here it is getting plowed. And this is the poor woebegone corner of Lake and Nicollet, where they decided that having a Kmart store was a really good idea back then and closing the street. And here's what you had. Here's the same view as it was. And here you see a Selby Lake car, and I think this is a Grand Avenue car. The Grand Avenue cars came to turn the corner. And this one right here, this is a Grand Avenue car attempting to turn the corner and derailing, so that attracted the newspaper photographers. But Rod, do you remember when this was called In Town? Did you? And very close to this intersection was a rock and roll club. And sometime in the late 60s, me and a buddy of mine went down there and saw Cream play with Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker, etc.
Mm-hmm.
You ever play a gig down in this area?
You're
Lucky.
close to the area where Mr. Lucky's and some of that stuff was.
Yeah.
And
Might have been
K-Bank Recording Studio was in that neighborhood.
Hey,
But I
Bank.
don't know what place you're talking about there near the corner.
Okay, might have been Mr. Lucky's. There a lot of neat stuff here. There were 2 movie theaters, a whole bunch of stuff.
You went down to the crossroads.
Very funny, very funny.
So anyway, here you got the service truck, and he's trying to pull this guy off. Oops. And then, of course, you get down to where the Motor Line had built the roundhouse at 31st Street. Boy, oh boy. The Motor Line had built the roundhouse at 31st, and then that was the original main shop for the streetcar company, but it wasn't a particularly useful facility. They built 31st Street Station there for storage, and then they built 31st Street Shops, which is where 1239 was built, and 500 other cars. This is inside 31st Street Shops. This is about 1905. And this is, there's still some single truckers around. There's an old horse car that's being used as a trailer. And here's some cars under construction. And this, of course, in 1907 was replaced by Snelling Shops because you can see this thing was a fire trap. And Snelling Shops was a fireproof building. And so then they went and tore down the old shops and the old station. And in 1912, they built Nicollet Station. And this was one of the 3 or 4 stations that were built on the same floor plan with the same fireproof materials. And they kept the roundhouse for a while and later tore it down to increase the size of the storage yard. They also went and put a separate boiler in and got rid of this boiler house. The boiler house was actually built in anticipation of the Minneapolis cable cars that never happened. And they had this nice floral display on the corner. And so here you see it in relationship to a Nicollet Ballpark, which was cited fairly specifically because of the streetcar access. You would take all the people there on the streetcar and then, hey, you know, what better place to stage the streetcars to take them home? And so here are the streetcars staged for going home, and they'd be all lined up in the street, and then they'd peel off and go to different areas all over town. And unfortunately, you're looking northwest, and this is the site today because the Wells Fargo building got burned down. And by the way, there is a new big apartment complex with affordable units that's now committed to go up in this space. And so here's the Nicollet station converted to bus. They added the bus bays on the outside. And first Twin City Lines in 1954 closed down their office building at 11th and Hennepin and moved their main offices here. And so when I went to work for Metro Transit, this is where I worked. I think this window right here. And the building was in bad shape. The heating and the air conditioning was really shot. The boilers were bad. But you'd go out into the shop area, and the rails were still on the floor, and they were referred to by the employees as 1 track, 2 track, 3 track, etc. And so then in 1990, the entire building was replaced by this bus garage, and that's why there's a bus garage there. So anyway, moving down Nicollet Avenue, this photo, well, here, I got to go back. This area here, well, this photo had me fooled. When in Twin Cities by Trolley, I actually listed this as on Chicago Avenue, which is wrong. And it took a while to discover that, in fact, it's where the U-Haul is now. It just took down all of these distinctive buildings. And then you turn around, and this is also at 36th. There's something being constructed on the old gas station. There's the gas station. And then you go down to 37th, and you're looking south at 38th Street at the cluster of buildings. And I've published this next photo before, but it's really cool. It's telephoto. And here's the beginning of those 38th Street buildings. And because of the telephoto, you can see the track dropping down to the low point at 40th. And then the streetcar is up at 42nd. And way in the distance here, you can see the top of the hill at 52nd. So here we are at 42nd by Martin Luther King Park. And here's what it looked like back in the day, not much different. And then the motor line, which had built this line originally, went out to 50th, which is the Washburn Orphanage, and also where the beginning of Washburn Park, which is now people call it Tangletown. And this is right by the Justice Page Junior High. So it went out that far. And starting in 1911, they extended it to 54th Street. And so here you are looking from the top of the hill at about 51st down to 50th. And for those of you interested in architecture, these are the post-World War II vintage Lustron prefab metal porcelain homes, which were constructed out of a kit. There's about 4 of them here. There's a couple more down the hill, and there's a few in St. Paul. And absolutely indestructible metal buildings, but they ultimately not successful.
Are they built on a slab at grade, or do they have a basement?
I don't know. Good question. So here you are. There's the Lustron homes at right. You're looking down that same hill. So turn around 180 degrees, and you're looking down the hill towards Minnehaha Creek Bridge. This house right here is historic. This is the home of Harry Wild Jones, who designed the pavilions at Lake Harriet, designed the Chalet Station at Lake Harriet, designed the Minnetonka Yacht Club out at Deep Haven. And here about 1910 is the house with a Nicollet streetcar. And so you come down the hill to the bridge. There you go. And then out on the bridge has different railings now. And then the initial end of the line after that was the Diamond Lake Road. And here you're looking, there's Diamond Lake Road and the hardware store there. And here's what it looked like back in the day. Same building, but they've kind of embellished the building. And here you can see the streetcar sitting in the Y at Diamond Lake Road, which they referred to as 54th Street. And so here we are looking northeast at the corner of 54th and the hardware store. And then there's this little, should get rid of this. There's this little funny Art Deco building, which was there at the time. Here you see them backing into the Y. And then later they extended it to 58th Street. And so here we are at 58th looking north. And here's the same view. And this is during the track construction that also had to do with extending to 57th, pardon me, extending from 58th to 62nd Street, which was the last extension of the streetcar system in 1947. And it's the same time they did a whole bunch of track replacement between Diamond Lake Road and 58th. So here we are down at 60th Street. And they're putting in the extension, they're paving the street. And then the line ended at a loop at 62nd and Nicollet. And here's the loop. And they bought a couple of city lots here, and it became really the first park and ride. Here's a Kaiser Fraser. And that actually remained in the hands of Metro Transit until the most recent rebuild of 35. And if you go back here, they had to encroach on it. And so I was the facilities planning manager, and I arranged with MnDOT to sell MnDOT this parcel so they could go and put this thing up. And there you go.